Hi everyone, this tutorial is on Microsoft Forms for assessment. Most of you have probably used Forms before for exit tickets or for simple quizzes. I'm going to start from the very beginning for everybody, but I'm going to break this little tutorial up into sections so you can skip ahead if you think you know the part that I'm covering already. So the first part I'm going to go over is starting a new form. Starting a new form is really easy. From your 365 account, you click on Forms. I just close that window there. And when you open up Forms, you can see all the forms that you've got. Here's a little one that most people don't know about, group forms. These are the ones that you created through your Microsoft Teams. But in My Forms, you will find all the forms and quizzes that you've made. I like to name it if it's a quiz so that it's easy for me to know that this form is actually a quiz and not a form. So I'm going to create a new quiz and I'm going to give this a title. I'm going to call this Teacher Sample Test. Okay, now you can add a description, training on forms. Okay, now the very first thing you need to do when you start a form is basically add the questions. Now the questions can come in a variety of forms. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm going to go over the most basic ones for assessment. And the first ones are, if I go to add new, we've got these two here, choice and text. These seems to be the most popular ones, and you'll see why in a second. So the first one, choice, is multiple choice. You click on choice and it will add a question. So let's say I'm going to add here a question on what kind of device is a monitor? What device type is the monitor? And at the bottom, I'm going to add the possible options. Let me just put a question mark there as well. The possible options, let's say it's going to be an input, output. I'm going to add another option because I want to add more than two. I'm going to say storage. And I don't know, let's say system. Next step is to turn around and say which question, well, which answer is the correct answer. In my case, it's this one here, output. So when I put my mouse over here, I can click on this and that's the correct answer. I can also put a little comment to display a message to respondents when they select this answer. When they select this answer, it can actually give them some kind of hint or some kind of explanation. This is good for your SEN children or students that have any other kind of educational needs or difficulties. You may have a question which has multiple answers, in which case I can click here multiple answers, and let's say it's a output and a system device. So now the students will have to guess both of these answers to get the question correct. Note there are no half marks. So if I say this question here is 2 points and they choose, let's say, this answer only, they will not get 1 mark. It's either 2 or 0. So it will not split marks. If you want to split marks, the only way to do that is have 2 different questions. Okay, so 2 questions, 1 mark each. If they get one right, 1 mark. If they get the other one right, another mark. So within a question, it will not split marks for you. It's a very popular question. Okay, I'm going to do another question now to show you some more examples. For example, a maths question. Now, maths questions, I'm not really good at maths right now, so I'm just going to click on add new. I'm going to go to choice, and I'm going to say, for example, solve for x. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, down here I've got some more options. You can see if I click on these ellipses here, I can add, for example, a subtitle, and in this subtitle it will also add, you see I didn't add a subtitle here, but if I wanted to, I could. I can click here and add a subtitle, and that's just some extra text you can put to help with the question. I don't need that subtitle. So, let me just go back. Now, in this question for maths, I've added a subtitle because now in the answers and in the subtitle, I can add maths equations. Have a look. So again, I click on the ellipses and I choose maths. And this will give me now, when I place my mouse over the subtitle section, you see this option here. This is text. If I click on that, I can choose maths. When I click in here, oh, hang on, let's go to there. There you go. When it's on ABC, I can now choose this. So I can say, for example, let's just go for x squared plus 3x equals to, I don't know, 9. I don't even know if that's correct, and click OK. And there you go. It's going to put a maths calculation there for, and you can put suggested result. I have no idea what all this is. Maths people, entirely up to you, but you can just put answers here, and you can toggle the input method. So here, if I put that, that's maths. If I put this, then it's numbers and text, okay, for my keyboard. If I click on this, then it changes it into maths. And this is only because I chose the maths option down here. Okay, so I don't know what answers you put there. Let's say the answer is, I don't know, say 2x, and another answer there is 3. And let's say add another option. I'm going to add that one in there, and then you choose which one's the right one. So if I say that's the right one, that's it. Now you give how many marks for that question. And there you go. Now, one of the items I haven't mentioned right now is the required section. So if you choose on required, so if I click on this question, it means that they cannot leave this question blank. So it's best when, especially for assessment, students tend to leave questions towards the end, and then they forget about them. So if you make it required, they're not allowed to submit their paper unless they've answered something or selected something in all of the questions. So I would suggest put required for all of them. Another little option you've got here is shuffle options. So this is another good one, because every time the form is opened, the options here, for example, I've got input, output, storage, system. So if I shuffle these ones, because they're easier to remember, if I preview this now, you see it's changing. Instead of input, output, it's system, input, storage, output. If I go back and then I go to preview this again, it's changed it again. So this basically means that every student that opens a form, the options for the answers will be different. So if they do text message each other and say, oh, well, it's number 1 or it's option 2 or option 3, for each person it will be different. Okay. Okay, I think that's about it when it comes to options. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do a single word answer question or a short answer or small essay question. For online assessment especially, you don't want very long essays. Try to keep the essay part that the students have to type shorter, not as long as you would do it on paper. So you don't want pages and pages of text. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new question. You can see I've got a question here that I don't want, so I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to click on add new, and this time I'm going to choose a text question. Okay, so here's my text question, and I can see here by putting my mouse on top of this subtitle, I've got the maths option enabled. So I'm going to remove the maths option. I'm going to remove the subtitle as well. I don't need that. And I'm going to put a question, for example, what is the capital of Cyprus? Okay, so this will be a one-word answer, Nicosia. So you can leave this open and not add any options there. Well, essentially you have to, but if you have a quick preview, the student will actually type something here, but it won't be marked correct or wrong because you haven't given any options for right answer. So you, when you're looking at the form, you would have to go and review that answer and give the marks yourself. So if I'm going to say this question is 1 mark, but because it's a one-word answer, if I'm concerned that the student has to be able to write the answer, like say Nicosia, I'm going to put here Nicosia, it's not case sensitive, so when I click away, it's added now as a right answer. If I try to write Nicosia in small letters, it won't accept it because it's already been added. So the case sensitive doesn't count. But let's say they type Nicosia like this and I want to accept it. Or if they type Lefkosia. So this is up to the educator, it's not to anybody else. So if they write any one of these in either uppercase or lowercase, it will be marked correctly. If they write anything different from this, it will be marked wrong. So let's say we're going to go for here I can put the points as well. So let's say that's a 1 point. It's not a long answer, it's a simple one. Okay, and again, it's required. Now I'm going to go for a long answer. Add new text. I'm going to write my question. I've actually copied it. Explain the advantages of using RFID chips in passports. So this is going to be a long answer. It's like a short essay question. I'm going to click on this, and that basically gives more space. If we have a quick preview, okay, this is what that looks like, and they can actually write a lot more in there. We'll have a look at that in a second. So again, we're not going to write any correct answers because it's a long answer. You're not even given the option because it's a long answer question. So you can just give the points. Let's say this is a 6 marks. Again, it's required, and that's basically it. When the students actually complete this and they write their answers in, whatever that is, you can see this can be quite long. So a very, very long answer question there. This could be like a page or more. Okay, it doesn't actually say, it gives them how many points this question is, so they will know roughly how many things they have to write about. So if it's 6 points, they have to write, I don't know, let's say 6 things about RFID chips in passports. And you then, as the educator, will go and review the question, and you will enter the mark in manually. It's not going to be automatically marked. So remember, with long answer questions, you will have to mark it just like you would on a piece of paper test. But the other questions where you've got the answers and it can mark it automatically, you don't have to mark those. So that's short answer and long answer questions. One thing I haven't talked about was if you wanted to add some aid, let's say, to your questions. Here's a question, let's say this one here. If I want to add a picture as well to help the students with the question, so I can click on the picture here. I can type either image or insert media. I'm going to go to Cypress. And it's better if you just search from here, Bing, because you can actually just choose a picture and add it. You don't even have to download it, save it, and then add it. So now your test will look like this. So what is the capital? Cyprus, and you've got some image there as well, which will help the student with the question. Okay, so that's short answer questions and long answer questions. We'll move on to the next stage. Okay, so next part I'm going to talk about is sections. Now, sections are really, really useful, very useful, especially when it comes to tests. Think about the final year exam question paper. It's not just a long paper from start to end normally. We've normally got it separated in sections, and we can do this in forms as well. So I'm going to show you how you can create sections in your forms. From here, this is what we've been working up until now. This is section 1, and automatically it's section 1 when you start a form. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to add new, but instead of adding a new question, I'm going to add a new section. Okay, and I'm going to give this section a name. So let's say, for example, this was some short answer question, multiple choice questions, and some short essay questions. This one's going to be, let's say, about the Odyssey. Greek department would like this, and you could write a small description about this section, what this section is going to be about. It's going to be about the Odyssey, what they're going to do, like a little preface about the next section. Okay, and then after, you could also add an image if you want, so they can see what it's about. So if I just go to here and just type, see, whoa, okay, I've got a car there. Sometimes helps. There we go. So I'm just going to put that picture there, add that in there. I'm going to have a quick look at this section now to see what it looks like. So here's section 1. Can you see teacher sample test, blah, blah. Here are the questions. All of these are required. And then when I get to the end of section 1, I can then go to the next section. But have a look what happens. It's not letting me go to the next section because I haven't completed the answers which were required on section 1. So this is really, really cool. So I'm just going to quickly answer some questions there. Choose that one, and then add an answer there, and a bit of my short question. And now I can go to next. And here's my next section. Can you see what it looks like? So there it is there. It gives me the title. I can have some information at the bottom there as well in my subtitle. It's got an image, and it will have my questions listed here. So let's just add one. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to my questions here. So my description is, I don't know, whatever the description is going to be. Let me just find something here. I'm just going to add some text. There you go. That one. Control C, and I'm going to add that as my description. I'm going to add a new question. Now my question is going to be, instead of choice, it might be, let's say, where they have to do a reading understanding exercise. So they have to read some text and then they have to answer some questions on it. So let's say I've got some multiple choice questions based on this. What I will do, I will put the reading part here. So let's just take, this is what they have to read. I'm going to put this down here. Control V. Okay, so this is the text they have to read. There's my title, my picture. Here's the text they have to read. And now I'm going to add a question, say multiple choice. Who wrote the Odyssey? And you can put, I don't know, let's say Bob the Builder. Barney. And let's put the right one in there, Homer. Okay, so that's the correct question. And you can just add questions like you would normally do. Say that's by Mark. You can add another question. Let's say it's a short text question. Explain, I don't know, in your own. And whatever you're going to put for explaining your own words. And let's say that's a long answer question, and that's worth, say, 4 marks. Okay, and of course you need to add your required, otherwise they'll leave those questions out. So let's have a quick preview. So they go to here, this is section 1, they finish this section, that one there, a couple of answers there, go to that one, go to next, and there's what they have to read. Okay, and here's the first question, and here's the second question. And then if you've got another section, you can add a third section, which will take them to the next section. So very, very easy. Again, what I'd like to stress out is these long answer questions. They will not, although they've got points, they will not be marked automatically. You will mark them manually. Very, very easy to do your test this way. Okay, my next section is going to be about distributing these tests. Okay, so we've made the forms quiz. We've set it up, we've put our sections, we've put the different types of questions, we've made sure that they have to answer every question before they proceed, and now we want to set up the actual settings of the forms to make sure it's suitable for an assessment based situation. So let's have a look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the ellipses at the top over here, and I'm going to go to settings. And I'm going to have a look at these settings one by one with you. So first of all, option of quiz, show results automatically. This will only show the results of the questions which can be answered automatically, like the multiple choice questions or the single word answer questions. If it's long text questions, then obviously it can't give the results back. So what I tend to do is remove that one so they cannot see what they've done right and what they've done wrong immediately. I can give them that feedback later. Your choice. Right, who can fill in this form? Well, first, you don't want to use this one. Anyone with the link basically means anybody who gets the link to forms that will be able to submit a response, and they can submit as many as they like. If this is going to be an assessment, then you need to know who has submitted it, and you also need to know that it's only each student can only submit it once. So the first thing we're going to do is only people in my organization can respond. That means anyone with a junior and senior school account, and then one response per person. Again, very important. If you don't do that, then they might want to take the test again. Okay, then options for responses. First of all, we want to accept responses. If I remove this, then this form, although I've made it, it's not available and nobody can submit anything to this form. So this is good for a good way for you to make sure that you've locked the assessment if you want after the assessment period is over. But what you can also do is this. I'm going to put here start date. So you can say the date of this assessment is going to be, let's say, the 10th of June. and you can put the time. Let's say it's going to start at 12 midday, and the end date is going to be again the 10th of June, but this time it's going to be, let's say, at 1:30. So this is a 1.5 hour assessed piece of work. Okay, now after that 1.5 hours, after 1:30, it will lock. It will not allow any more responses to come in. So they've got that 1.5 hours to complete. Okay. Shuffle questions, you can do it sometimes if you've got the option for shuffle questions, where it is here we can't because of the sections. We've got different sections. So if it was all one section, then it will be able to shuffle the questions for you. So maybe question 1 is question 3 for someone else, question 2 is question 1 for somebody else. But because we've got sections, it's not going to do this. You can customize a thank you message. So once you click on submit, you can write your name. Thank you very much for taking the assessment, and write your name, the teacher's name, so that they get something personalized if you want. And that's, again, only if you want. I'm going to leave that one. I like putting customized message. Notifications. Send email receipt to respondents. Well, basically, that means that the students will get an email response that they submitted the work, and then get an email notification of each response. And that is mainly for you. Every time a student submits the form, you will be notified. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we finished with the settings. I want to share this, and I'm either going to send this link, which I'm going to share to my students by email, or I'm going to post it in my Teams, or I'm going to assign it as an assignment in Teams. We're going to have a look at both of those scenarios. So I'm going to go to share. And first of all, here it is here. I want to make sure it says only people in my organization can respond. There we go. Anyone with the link can respond. We don't want that. We want this one. And then we simply click copy, and that will copy the link for you. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you this. Now, I've actually, if you look here in my settings, I made this available for the 10th of June. So if I try to open this now, it comes back with it's not available. This form is currently not accepting responses because it's not the 10th of June at 12 noon. 12 noon, this will be available. Students will have to log in with their 365 account, and only if they log in with their 365 account, and then it would allow them to take the test. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to show you now next how we're going to distribute this. So the classic way, of course, is you're going to go to share, copy this link, and you can go to your Teams. I'll go to my teacher training one down here somewhere. There it is. So I can either send the link by email, I can post it in Teams directly. But what we want to do, since this is going to be an end of year assessment or assessed work, then I'm going to actually make an assignment. Now, here's something really important with assignments. When you actually create, I'm going to click here, create, and I'm going to create a quiz. Now, I've already made the quiz, okay? So I have already made this quiz. So when I click on this, I'm going to choose from an existing one. I'm not going to create a new one. I'm going to choose this one. And I'm going to go to next. There we go. All right, there we go. So now I can give information about this assignment, and I can also, again, put my due date when this is going to be handed in, and I can also set up when it's going to be made available. Now, let's not get things confused. What we have done here in our settings is for the form. So this form will be taking responses, will allow responses to be sent on the 10th of June at 12 noon, and will only accept responses until 1:30 on the 10th of June. The assignment part of Teams, when we set this part up, for example, if I click here, edit, I'm going to say that this assignment or this test, I'm going to schedule it in the future. I'm going to put this again on 10th of June, from the 10th of June. I'll do it from here, 10th of June, and I'm going to make this at, say, 11 11:50, slightly earlier than the start time of forms. Okay, and then I'm going to say that the due date is again the 10th of June at 1:35. And the close date, I'm going to say, is exactly the same date. Okay, so if I do this now and I say done, now if I schedule this, students, and I'm going to show you this now, so I'm going to schedule that now. So I've got a student account here. I'll bring this over. Okay, so this is my student account, which is a member of this teacher training team. And if I now go to my assignments, I can see that that assignment is not there. It's not there because it's only going to be there on the 10th of June at 11:55. Okay, so you can schedule your tests in Teams from beforehand, so you can inform them on this day you're going to have the exam. It's going to appear automatically. Okay, and then it will vanish from here. It will lock the assignment, so it will be completed. Let's say they won't be able to respond within Teams at 1:35. Okay, and remember our forms was set up to accept responses from 12 noon until 1:30. So in the assignments part, it's only when this assignment is going to be available. Okay, so I'm going to modify this this assignment now so we can actually see it. Here it is here, because in my one I can actually see it because I'm the teacher. I'm now going to go in here and I'm going to change this to make it available now. Let's just get rid of that scheduling altogether. There we go. So it's scheduled now. Now then, if I assign this, there you go. The assignments have just popped up. And let me just go to posts and back to assignments so it refreshes. So this is the student side. The student has got this test. The student goes to the test, clicks on the link. And because it's through Teams, they don't have to sign in. Okay, so they take the test, they go to next. Once they fill that in, oops, student hasn't filled that in. That one. And then something there. Next. Then they see the next section. Barney, some text. Okay, and then submit. And that student has now submitted, and I can close that. Now, if the student tries, there you go, it's assigned, it's submitted. Student tries to click on this again, it says you've already submitted your response, so you can't hand it in again. Now, here's a question I get asked very often from staff. This one here, where do we actually see it? So as a teacher, I can then go to my assignment and I can see the assignment, who it's been submitted to. There we go. This student has handed it in, and I can click from here and I can actually mark it from here manually. Okay, it shows me the right answers, the wrong answers. And here's my short answer questions. Okay, so if I go to that one here, explain the advantage of using RFID chips. Okay, so this one here, can you see it says needs review? So I need to analyze this answer. I can check it and I can say, right, for that answer, they're going to get 1 mark. Down here, this is one on Odyssey. Here's a long answer question. This one needs review. This one's wrong, so it's already assigned 0 marks. This answer here, let's say, is 2 marks out of the 4. And that will automatically adjust the total points. Okay, so it says 3 out of 16. If I then say, oh, well, this answer actually needs 3 marks instead of 1, then they've now got 5 marks out of 16. And you can also, if you think an answer deserves a bit more marks than that, for whatever reason, you can actually give an extra credit. Okay, and it will add that in. That's it. Now, the one question I get asked from many educators many times is this: where is the form? So if I've got 4 groups, years 7C, 7Y, 7P, and 7R, and I assign the same form to my assignment here. So when you actually create a new assignment and you're creating from existing, and you're always choosing the same form for the assignment, well, where is create quiz? There we go. Where is that form stored? it's stored here. So if I go over here, go to here, I go to my forms, and here we go. Here's the form that I created, teacher sample. But when I attached it to a team, it made a copy of this and placed it in the group forms. And there it is there. Here is where my responses are in forms. If I go to this one here, I have no responses. Okay, 0 responses. If it's the one from Teams though, if I go to here, go back, go to my forms, and now I click on group forms, here's the teacher sample test in the teacher training team. Here are my responses. I've got 1 response. That's it, guys.